So my name is Alexio Kawara. I'm a musician. I'm a known musician, or I'm known by my music. But besides that, I'm also a father to one wife. I am also a father to two sons. I'm a son to my mom, and I'm the fourth born in a family of five. I grew up in Glenora, born in 1978. So I grew up in Glenora. I was born and raised in Glenora, and I stayed there for the rest of my life. And went to primary school in Glenora, then went to Mazwe High School. And then I was exposed to music from a very young age. I'm a born Catholic, so obviously music in church, music at home, exposed to music, reggae music and all these other types of music from my brothers, exposed to Sungura and Kanindo from my father, exposed to the Catholic music, like I said, also exposed to R&B from my sister. And then went to Mazwe High School. I did my O-level, Form 1 to Form 4 at Mazwe High School. Then after that, Mazwe High School, I was exposed to Salvation Army music. And after that, I went to Vainona High School. And then at Vainona High School, I was just doing music, not really exposed to anything, but just me exposing the music to people. Besides that, I believe I'm just an easygoing guy. You know, I love just being myself more than anything because it's easier to live that way. So my first recording was in 1999, I believe. That was the album The Future. And I had an opportunity to become part of a group called Guess, which did the song Amai, the hit song Amai. I have to say hit because, yeah. So the hit song Amai. And the session, for me, it was a scary experience. I had gone from studio to studio trying to look for a studio to record, and we didn't have money, so you'd always get people saying, pay this much and stuff. So at Shamiso Music, I got the first recording deal with as part of a group called Guess, and we did that song. I must say it was a very it was scary, the experience, but it was a very good learning curve for me because obviously everything has to start from somewhere. And what the guys that I was recording with were already kind of seasoned because there was Delani Makalima, they had already performed at Miss South Africa and stuff like that. So I was like the new guy. And so 1999, I don't remember the year, I mean the month, but I remember it was 1999. And so I sort of got into the new millennium, a musician. So my experience with Guess, maybe let me just explain to you what happened before. Like I went to the studio as someone was auditioning to be signed on to the record label Shamiso. And then I met a group of guys who were already experienced. So the producer was Delani Makalima. So when I auditioned, he liked the song that I auditioned with, which was the song Amai, that we did then as our debut single. So it was just the Alexio from the ghetto, from Glenora, you know, and you have no idea. You're thinking, hey, studio, say, how exactly is this gonna turn up? And so I was so scared. I remember I didn't even have confidence. I had confidence in my writing skills. I didn't have confidence in my voice. Even the way that I sang then, even when I listen to it now, I'm like, I could have done better. But you see, I think it was a good step in the right direction. And then these guys came, they did justice, I'll be honest, because the good thing is I started the song. So, you know, when you start, you're not expected to do much. So I did that, and then the next guy came and did a little bit extra. He's a very good vocalist. And then the other guy, Donda Kumalo, did the amazing stuff. The Mai-yo, Mai-yo. And then, so when I listened to it, I was proud that this is the song that I wrote, and I was also proud to have been part of the group, yes. But I felt small in terms of my delivery as a musician. I felt like, hey, you know, I wish I could sing like those guys, you know. But you know, like I said, it's a learning curve. And then years, I think a couple of years later, like 2 or so years later, I was at Fortune Mparusa's studio. And then he had recorded Prince Mafukidze. He had also recorded Excel, the group Excel, which was a gospel group. And I think he had also done In My Dreams, I think. I don't know if there was a period that happened after, I'm not too sure. But so when I recorded, Fortune was very a comfortable guy. Like I could talk to him, I could do all these things, you know, I could express myself. He actually kind of pushed me to do better than who I was. So we did that, and for me, experiencing I really enjoyed how he would work with me as a new artist. Although I had started getting a little bit of confidence, but he boosted my confidence even better. But the experience for me, I think it was a very good learning curve for me. I learned a lot from all these guys that I've worked with, and they boosted my confidence. It also improved me on my creativity. I believe that every single step in a person's life is important. Every step in a musician's life is important. So, because every time you're learning, every time you're actually discovering yourself. Because normally when you get into the music, the first thing that you're actually doing is you have more of the influence of the people that have influenced you. But for me, but for me, it was exactly the same. So I sort of started discovering myself as I was growing in the music industry. So the first album that I recorded, if my memory serves me right, is Usazondisiya. And on that one, I think that's where, I'm afraid I might mix this up, but anyway, for the sake of the interview, because you guys are listening, for the sake of the interview, I believe that's where Ndinomanya and Kumba Kwenyu were. And those songs, I recorded those ones with the late Fortune Mparusa, courtesy of Shamiso Music, because they were the executive producers for that, for those tracks and the other tracks of the album. So those were my first. Amai was our first hit, and then Ndinomanya and Kumba Kwenyu were also hits to some extent. And then after that, I recorded Usazondisiya, and on that one, Karuyo Ark. And then on that one, there was Chivuguvugu, which was a hit, like a really big hit. For me, I was actually surprised because when you're recording, you really don't know what the impact that you're actually doing in terms of the creativity. And then after that, I recorded, I think the next hit song was Skanakanaka. And then after that, the next hit song was Tinodanana with Tererai. So it was sort of, there were other songs on the albums that I think were really good, but it was sort of learning. You are discovering yourself, you're learning from other music that you're listening to. So for me to say which point exactly I then got to be, the Alexio, I really don't know, because all of the songs I know when I perform them now, people are still saying, wow. So which means they knew the songs. Yeah. So every step of my journey, for me, I treasure it very much. Some people still call me Sha, is my surname. They still say Alexio Sha, because of the song that I did with Tererai. And I had first heard Tererai singing Wayenda on radio. We had never met before, but I fell in love with the voice, and I'm like, this girl can sing. And then I wrote Tinodanana before we even met. I went to the studio and started recording the song before we even met. And then I called her. And then I was Tererai. I was like, Tererai, I don't remember, is it me or we called or someone else? But we called, I think it was Mark D, because we did that production with Mark D. So I think whoever called, they were like, Tererai, we need you to the studio. And she was pregnant back then. we need you at the studio, there's this song, Chichi, and then she came to the studio and then we recorded the song. And then before the song was out, after, I think the same night, because we would actually pick her up from her house and then drop her back. The same night she called someone, I don't remember who she called. She was like, we made a hit. You know, she was so happy, you know, but it was, for me, it was the chemistry that happened even when I heard her voice the first time. You know, I felt that we could do something. And she also tells me that she would then play the cassettes. Yeah, I'm sure this is not for the Amai 2000. The cassette, she would play the cassette with Ndinomanya and she would try and collaborate with it at home when she knew I had asked her. Like we'd never met, we'd never done anything, so she would try and experiment with Ndinomanya. I think Ndinomanya mskanakanak, just to hear how it sounded. And so when she came to the studio, I guess she had an idea of what, you know, how it would sound like. But I think for us, when we finished it, we knew that this is the song that is going to, you know, take the love scene by storm. Yeah. I've ceased to try and give my music a name because I don't really know what it is. I'm an experimental artist. I fuse a lot of things. Why? I think my background itself tells a lot about how I create music, because born Roman Catholic, exposed to reggae, R&B, Kanindo, Sungura, and Mkanya, you know, all these songs, they were all in, and then also Mazoe brass band, everything. So my music is all of that in one, everything that I grew up. So I prefer maybe I have an answer now because I've been asked that question a lot of times. But I think my music is experimental music, where I'm just free to express myself, because I've done an R&B song, I've done a rock song, I've done Afro-pop, I've done a reggae song, I've done all those songs, and most of them were hits in their respective genres. So just follow the music. Yeah. That was an encounter with the Lord Jesus Christ himself. Yeah. I believe when you are just living life, which I was just doing, I didn't have purpose. We're just doing music and enjoying being in the limelight and just doing music. And that's it, you know, like you have no idea why you're doing it. You are doing it for yourself. You want to be saying, you want to satisfy your, I think for lack of a better word, ego. You're saying, I'm a musician, I want to sing. So that period, for me, I believe it was a separation period for me to really, for the Lord to help me to discover myself, or for the Lord to discover me, to shape me in the way that he wants to shape me. So this was in the year, it started I think in 2020, thereabout. And it so happened that it was also during the lockdown. So it coincided with everything. So I went quiet and then I went quiet. And then I started doing meat business and other things. And then, so my encounter with the Lord Jesus Christ is the only reason why I went quiet. Because he has to do that. He had to separate me and then work on me so that when he presents me back to the people, I'll be the person that he wants me to be. My first album was Usazon Sia. My second album was Rio Wangu. My third album was Pimbi Yangu. Fourth album was Kana. My fifth album was Tose, and my sixth album was Oi. And then in the middle, I had Jajino is the single. I had Shamar with Ngoni Kambarami. I also had on an album. Anyway, yes, but that's 6 albums to my name. Yeah, the first 4 albums, I would say they were a transition in terms of growth. The reception was growing with time. The first album, it was more like an introduction, you know, people appreciating who Alexio was. But from the third album, which was Pimbi Yangu, that's where I started getting recognition. I got awards for that. I also got awards for the best song with Tererai. We got an award for the best song with Tererai. I also got the best Urban Grooves award for the same album. And then I did Shaina. It's not, the album is not called Shaina. The album is called Kana, but that's where Shaina is. That was the groundbreaker right there. And then, you know, from there, I think Tose was okay. It was just received okay. For me, Tose, I think what overshadowed Tose was the previous album, because whenever an artist does a massive hit song, it overshadows everything else. So now everyone was like, Shaina. So now we're gonna have another Shaina, but you know, you can only have one Shaina, you can't have a lot. So I did that one, and then I also did Oi. Oi was okay. I think the hit song there was Unombo Shitire. So that's pretty much it. People have been accepting. One thing that I've seen and noticed about my music is how timeless it is, because I still perform the same songs. People still receive them the same, you know, and people still appreciate the old music just as much as they appreciate the new music. So I believe, you know, that's an advantage of the music that I create. So one thing that most people don't know is Shaina actually has two versions. The other one, the first one, the original one, is not the one that actually became popular. The first one I did with Mac D, and Ngoni Kambarami is also there as part of the backing vocalists. And there was also a guy called Farai who did guitar. But the same choir that did the is the same choir that is on both versions. So when I was in the studio at Flash Gordon studio back in the day, I think that was 2008 or 7, I'm not too sure. Andy Brown was passing through the studio, going to the office, and he heard the song. It was like, and then he went, and then he came back. He was like, "Whose song is this? Mpana, is this your song?" And I'm like, yeah. You know, I was very humbled, firstly, because, you know, this is Andy Brown who's talking to you. This is your song. This is a good song. This is a good song. And then he went, and then he came back and said, "I want to put a guitar on this song." I'm like, what? Andy Brown putting a guitar on my song? And then he came, played the guitar, da-dee-da-da, da-dee-da-dee, and then put all those distorted. But I think there was a mistake that happened, so we ended up finishing the song at his studio, Studio Shakaza in Craneborn, I think. And then we ended up going there so that he put in more guitars. So that song has got producer Flash Gordon, and it has also Mac D. So the two versions, it's Mac D and the one that was started by Flash Gordon, but he also had co-producers. There was a guy called Jairo Samba Amba and Tinashe Dube who also did co-production on that after everything was done. So I guess that's why it became big, because the more the merrier, or the more the better. Yeah, the second, all of the versions are actually good, because the first version made Andy Brown to want to become part of the second version. So the second version was like a remix. So all of them they did, and I never undermine anything, you know. So Mac D's version made it happen so that the second version came. You know what, I was writing a list a couple of months ago of the people that I've worked with. I'm almost on 100 people that and I know I can even easily get to 200, because I just wanted to appreciate, because everyone that I have crossed paths with in my music industry, for me, has had an impact on my music journey. So I can mention Andy Brown, I can mention Oliver Mutukudzi, I can mention Sam Mutukudzi, I can mention Prudence Kantomeni, Mono, Jairo Samba Amba, Tinashe Dube, Mac D, Flash Gordon, Cornelius 3D. I can mention a lot of people that have had an impact on my music career. I can never, you know, exhaust the list. And I have people that I have even collaborated with, because, you know, what happens is when you're working with someone, as much as you might not know it, you are learning something from that someone, you know. So for me, every artist. But in terms of maybe the influence of my music, wow, I think that's pretty much the same answer, because I listen to everything. I listen to classic music, I listen to reggae, I listen to R&B, I listen to rumba, I listen to all these things. So my list of the people that have influenced my music is endless. So that I believe that is what gives me the advantage of my creativity. That gives my creativity the advantage, because I believe an artist should not be limited in terms of creativity. So I should not be limited in terms of what I take in. What I just screen out is probably the profanity, things that are not good for my spirit. But otherwise, everything else that is good, that motivates me, that entertains me, I listen, and it makes me who I am as an artist. At some point, I thought I was rebranding, but then by meditating on it, I recognized that it was a transition. So, which means it's me, but getting to another level, you see. So my music, I've seen and learned how powerful music is. I've heard comments on YouTube where my music has actually had a real impact on people's life. I've heard testimonials, people sending me voice notes of appreciating how my music has impacted their life. So I was not deliberate about that. And now I believe my transition is actually being deliberate, because I really want now my music to really bring change into people's life. Because for me, that is where my satisfaction comes from. So the transition, I think that has mainly been me moving from not knowing the power of music, the music that I do, into knowing the power of music that I do. So I don't just sing. I actually sing to say something that will bring real change. And I don't like being negative. I'm very optimistic. I see good in bad. So my music has to say that in people's life. And one of the other things is I'm stopping also just being theoretical about music, because most of musicians, we sing what we do not practice. You can sing a song about love and you actually do not love. So for me, the transition has been from not just being the guy that sings, but the guy that lives what he sings. So a musician is always working. A musician is always working on something new. It's either it's in your head, still in your head, or it's in the studio. So I've been writing a lot of music. I've been in the studio here and there. I've recorded some stuff, but I take long. I know I've been taking too long, so I take too long to write. So now people should expect something. I'm praying by next year I should have something, maybe an album, because I've been doing singles here and there. I've released a song called Miracle, which is a single that I did. It was very experimental. I just wanted to try something new. But now I think I'm heading somewhere in terms of who I really am. So I want to release something for people. I'm recording. I'm writing so I can record, and then people will then hear when it's out. Okay, so the current state of affairs, or state of music industry, for me, it has made me realize that, as funny as it might sound, or as old-fashioned as it might sound, we are following too many trends. We are following after something that is happening, and things are moving too quickly, but it never used to be like that. So for me, I've decided to readjust to being myself. You know, what made me get into the music in the first place? My passion for music. So that's where I'm actually heading. I just want to do music because I love music.
Era.